welcome to a very special semi-final build-up interview with someone who actually had predicted England will not make it. We have played that clip a million times on Revsportz. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yes, England will not make it. Their middle order is not up to the mark. Well done, Brad Hogg. Every prediction of yours has come true. So ahead of the two big semi-finals, let me first start with India, New Zealand. But before I ask that, go back. And why did you say what you said? Everything has come true. Brad Hogg.
Yeah, look, I just looked at England before the start of the series. I just don't think they've played together as a team over an extended period of time in that format. And I think there was just a lot of talk about baseball as well in the test arena. I didn't mention that earlier, but as we've gone through and everyone's talking about the contract issues that England have had throughout the tournament, players with their central contracts, I don't think that's the big issue. I think the issue was, when I look back at it now in hindsight, baseball. The talk about how England have changed the approach to Test cricket. Everyone's right behind them. Then you've got, so that's McCallum. You've got a new coach for the England whiteboard team in Matthew Mott. He's just come off the Australian women's team where he's more structured. So the players will be probably a little bit more restricted under his role. But then you've got Ben Stokes coming into the 50 over team as well, being out of it for a long time, coming out of retirement to play in the 50 over tournament. There's a lot of talk how he is the best captain in Test cricket for England that they've seen for a long period of time with his approach. And then all of a sudden Butler's got to have him in his team, and all of a sudden he can't stamp his authority on the white ball format as well. So I just think there were so many things, so many factors for England coming into this tournament that was going to be so disruptive.
Fascinating, extremely insightful comments from Brad Hogg there. Not unusual. You come to expect from a World Cup winner who's been doing the business with credibility for 2 decades now. But coming to the India-New Zealand semi-final, massive for India, Brad. I mean, all of India will come to a standstill on the 15th at the Wankhede. 2019, the memory is still fresh. I mean, coming so close, MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. How do you look at this? Does 2019 have any role at all, or this is a chance at redemption? How do you set up the India-New Zealand semi-final?
Look, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be decided on the toss. I think whoever bats first is going to have the advantage. We've seen that the ball swings a little bit more in the dew at night there, and India, if they get into those conditions, New Zealand have not got a chance. But when it comes to the other side of the fence, I think if India bowl first, then New Zealand have got a chance, but they'll rely heavily on Trent Boult getting early breakthroughs, and India would have to be 3 down by the 10th over for New Zealand to have a chance. When I look at it, I'm looking at New Zealand and South Africa. They haven't won a World Cup in the history of the...
Having said that, Brad, I mean, in a match of extreme pressure, and I've asked this question to Indian legends across sport, whether it is to our Olympic champions, Abhinav Bindra, but people like Mahesh Bhupati, who's won multiple Grand Slams in tennis, in badminton with Pullela Gopichand, in cricket with Sourav Ganguly, asking you the same question. In a match of extreme pressure, you played a World Cup final and won it. How do athletes deal with such pressure, Brad? When Rohit, Virat, the rest of the boys take field, how do they deal with such extreme pressure? A billion people, stadium fans, all of television. How do you deal with that?
Look, everyone deals with it differently, but the secret is when you're at such a high level and you're in a big game is not to change your approach to it. Try and keep everything that's happening outside. Don't read papers, don't read social media. When you're in the hotels, when you're in those rooms, try and stay away from all the hype and just focus on what you can control and how do you best play your game. So I'll go to myself sometimes through the history. When I wasn't performing, the hype got to me. And all of a sudden I felt that I had to do something different in a final than what I was doing in the lead up to the final. You've got your skills, you've got your approach, you've got your plans to the team, you don't have to change your emotions. You don't think you're in a bigger fight because you're playing a final. It's just another game. And if you can think like that, control the controllables, you've got a better chance of succeeding. And I think this particular final series, I think it's going to be very definitive with Virat Kohli, with his legendary status. He's had such a wonderful World Cup. He's got 50 hundreds, I think it is, or 49 hundreds. Has he got 50 hundreds?
49.
Yep.
49.
So I'm predicting that he'll make his 50th hundred in the final, and that will be a big thing for him, because I just want him to have that success and that accolade on the big stage in such a big game. And I think that will be the definitive moment for Virat Kohli to really define him as a great of the game. He already is, but he'll put him on a bigger pedestal.
But, to be able to do that, obviously India will have to overcome New Zealand. And Virat Kohli, after that 2019 match, said to me, and I remember that conversation vividly, he said, I always had a dream, and it was, in a match like this, I will go in, steer India home in a run chase, be the leader to do that, and take my team to a win. When I was going in today in Manchester, I thought today is my day. But then maybe ego was talking, the sport is bigger, and it still hurts him. I mean, that is why this semi-final could be a very defining moment for Kohli, because he also knows these are the two games that matter. So your thoughts on Kohli ahead of this game? Yes, he's done stellar. 200s, many 50s, batted like a champion, like a genius. But these are the two games that will define him.
Yeah, look, definitely. And I think he's got that experience behind his belt. He'll look back at that and he'll think, right, I might have been thinking a little bit too ahead of myself. I might have been thinking differently. I think he's, it's a couple of years now since that moment's happened. So I think he'll be working on it. And I think he'll be a lot mentally stronger right now going into these two finals coming up. And I think we're going to see the best of him. And I think we're going to see some big scores from Virat Kohli. He's just a workhorse. He takes pride in India. He's got whole of India on his shoulders. And while he was captain, he wanted to lead from the front. He wanted to make sure he didn't let his nation down. And now that he's not captain and he's going into this final just as a batsman, I think he still feels that way, but I think there's a little bit more pressure off him in that regard, and he can just go out there and just focus on what he needs to do. And he got a wicket the other night as well, bowling, and the crowd were right behind him. And just the way that he's operating with the crowd as well just shows me that he's in a lot more control with his emotions than what he was a couple of years ago. And all sportsmen, the older you get, he's an experienced player, but another couple of years, it makes a huge difference. So I think Virat Kohli, this is going to be his moment.
Last two questions on this part for the India-New Zealand semi-final. Rohit Sharma at the top of the order, Brad, revelation. Look at his strike rate, the way he's gone about it. And of course, his leadership has been absolute standout in this World Cup. Your thoughts on Rohit Sharma, the batter and the leader?
Look, I think he's very calm, collected, and nothing really gets to him too much. There are a couple of times there where I've seen the emotion come out of Rohit Sharma dealing with certain players. The drop catch the other day, I saw some highlights of that. I didn't watch the game. It was Siraj on the fence. Why would you drop a catch with Kuldeep Yadav bowling the left arm Chinaman? You've got to look after your spinner, Siraj. Come on. But just the way he just stood there, looked at him, and so forth, gave him the glare. I like that about him. He's composed, but he just gives you the eyes, and it's enough to tell you, right, you're not switched on enough today. Get back to what makes you tick. So I like that about him as a leader. Every now and then he does show his emotion, but as a batsman, he's cool, calm, collected, and I think he does a bit what Ricky Ponting did. When he's batting, he's not the captain. He's there for batting. The only time that he really thinks about being a captain is when he's on the field and he's got to direct his troops, he's got to direct his bowlers, make those bowling changes, make strategic changes there. So when you can define or make sure that you separate your two different roles, you become a better leader and you become a better performer with your number one skill, and that's his batting.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And how can I not ask you about our bowling unit? The three fast bowlers, Shami, Siraj and Bumrah, of course, and they're your favorite, Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja. Over to you, Brad Hogg. Is this the most versatile, dynamic, talented bowling attack in this World Cup? I mean, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, the fast bowlers had to stand up in this particular tournament, didn't they? They didn't want to leave it a cool yard of just to take the limelight. But look, I think they're very well balanced bowling attack. You've got three options that you can utilise with the new ball, and you've got three options that you in the pace department that you can operate through the middle, and also three options to operate in the death overs. So no matter what's going on in the game, and you've got different matchups, you can use those bowlers wisely at different stages for the matchup that they've got at that particular moment. So that's what I like about that three-pronged pace attack. And then you've got the left arm mystery spinner of Kuldeep Yadav, who can offer a little bit of difference, and he's very hard to pick. I think he's really improved over the last couple of years, where he's worked on his action. He's getting a lot more bite, a lot more overspin as well, and he's travelling a lot of batsmen. He's not as easy to sweep as what he was a couple of years ago, and that's probably why he's really improved. And then Jadeja, the left arm off spin going away from right-handed batsmen, I think that's a huge advantage, but he's also good against left-hand batsmen as well, where he can control the moment. He's got that skill to not allow them to hit with a spin, because he's got such good variation of the straighter one. So he's very canny as well. So I think the bowling lineup of India is very well balanced, and having Jadeja down there in that lower order also gives them extra depth with their batting. So I think they're the best balanced team at the moment going into this particular tournament.
Last one. I mean, you said your heart says New Zealand because you want someone else to win, but what does your mind say? India, New Zealand, Brad Hogg in the hot seat.
Look, you're obviously going to favour India. There's no two ways about that, and you're on Indian soil, so I want India to succeed in that regard. But as I said before, I've got a lot of sympathy for New Zealand and South Africa, especially with the hard work that they do. It's not easy getting into the finals of the World Cup. Both teams have been there, and they haven't quite got over that hurdle of holding up a cup. So yes, India are the favourites going into the tournament, but if I was an Indian fan out there and New Zealand did happen to have a good night, play to their best of ability, I'd be hoping that a lot of Indian fans would be following New Zealand going into that particular final, just because of the history of their particular country not winning a World Cup. And the same thing for South Africa if they get through and they've got to play New Zealand. You want to see those two fight it out and have a good contest. But at the end of the day, I can't see anyone beating India. The only way India are going to get beaten if they don't play to their potential. And going through the Australian success that we had for those 3 World Cups in a row, the only team other teams were going to beat us was either we didn't play to our potential or they played above our standards at that particular day, and they had a day out. You can only control what you can control, and that's what India have to do to take out this tournament.
Fantastic from Brad Hogg. Absolutely fantastic.